The idea of this 1 hour is to talk on one side, but also to listen some questions from the chat. Let me introduce myself. I'm Lorenzo Montagna. Then we have Guido Geminiani and Katharina Pesch. More presentation coming during the presentation. Let me show you my screen. So we start with an introduction of the theme. Do you guys see properly? It's all okay? Guido, do you see properly?
Yes.
Okay. So the idea is to talk about this big theme of virtual fashion, augmented fashion, call it as you want. My role here is to be the moderator. My activity, also to give a sense to my presence here, is that I have a company which is a consultant company, and my work is mainly to be a kind of bridge between university, consultancy, and companies. So my goal is more to touch, I would say, the opportunity of XR more than make it, because to make it you must be an expert like Guido or Katharina, like Impersive or Invrsion. So my role is mainly on consultancy, and for this I also work with PwC. So it's not something new to say that fashion is with VR. So this picture, I find it pretty funny because you see how big is the headset is 2015. So I would say that fashion has been one of the first industry to move into experience reality. And then the things became very, very different, I would say, even faster than expected. Because on one side, of course, brands like Nike, that is more a popular product than luxury, joined and started to sell and to use AR and to use it also in social media. And then very interesting has been a successful story in Italy, the one of Gucci, that started on the app to showcase the products, but also the virtual try-on. The virtual try-on, for example, for this brand has been huge because now the app has a lot of products that you can try on, from glasses to bags and so on. But this has been, I would say, just the beginning, because if we see the evolution of what XR is doing for this brand, it's even going much behind. So, for example, now lots of people is talking about digital to avatars. So this is a pair of Puma that doesn't really exist, but people is buying for the avatar. Still talking about a pair of shoes, now it's becoming an NFT. So it's becoming art, it's linked to blockchain. So all this kind of stuff has been, I would say, not imaginable until last year. What happened is that there has been a strong acceleration also from the consumer side to live, to try, to have a relationship with the fashion industry going behind just the screen. So this is an example of something that you can buy, but doesn't really exist. And this virtual possession is a big thing. So just to give you an idea, people gave a value of $2,900 for a digital handbag. And again, I think this is the case of a Gucci bag. So what's happening? So it's really astonishing on one side, and sometimes a little bit confusing, because all these things at the end of the day are not really scaling, and they are not really impacting the industry as it should be. So these are more some let's say trends. This is a trend. Everyone in the industry knows about Balenciaga going in for night. There is more people there than in other real places, but some data from the business point of view. So we start our session in the right manner. So this industry of XR is going to be huge. So this is a prevision of PwC of the impact on the GDP about XR. So you see that it's going to be a huge 1.5 trillion in 2030, but the good news is that this is happening even a big number in 2025. The reason why is because this is a big changer. This revolution is not just an AR or VR thing. This is linked to AI. This is linked to 5G. There has been a very interesting panel in these days about in this conference between Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom, British Telecom. All this stuff it's a new system. So you must see XR like the place where other technologies like AI, IoT, and 5G are going to happen. This slide is in Italian, but it's very easy to catch the point. So at the very top, you see that today the focus of the CEO of the companies are on digitalization of processes. And the second one is the virtualization of products and digital services. This is a huge step ahead, linked to COVID, of course, that accelerated this kind of virtualization of everything, object, but also showroom, for example. And again, just to have another snapshot, this is again just Italy, but between the countries there are not big relevance, big differences. You see how small are becoming TV, magazine, and newspaper, which is where the fashion industry is investing the most, and how much is growing everything which is more digital. So it's happening also, you know, the link between shops, print industry, Matterport, which is mainly, I would say, consumer stuff. It's becoming quite popular. And at the same time, someone is even going ahead, like Balenciaga, that did this video game to present a collection, the Age of Tomorrow. And we know also that from the B2B side, there are some platform coming out. So this is the contest. Let's come to Guido and Katharina and their experience. So during the pandemic, all the big brands, especially luxury, has to play, let's say, different game. And so what, for example, Prada did was to use social media, but also, as you can see, YouTube, to present the collections. What Guido is going to talk about is the evolution of this. So how Prada, for example, but many other brands are going into VR for a very deep, I would say, story living. And then Katharina is going to be focusing more on the other side of computer graphics, so on virtual showrooming and digital twins. So this is the setup of this afternoon. Let me be back with you guys. Let me stop presenting. Just a second. I'm very used to other platform. Okay, so in the meanwhile, I see someone is jumping in. So any question, please do it. We will answer. And Guido, I would leave it to you because I mean you have a big story to tell with many brands, I think, not just Prada.
Thank you so much. I started my activity. Now we work with a lot of these Oculus Quest or Pico Neo 3. My studio is full of this kind of stuff. Considering in 2014, the first DK1 Oculus and similars, and already this one, too heavy with the light at 3 centimeters to your eyes passing through a lens and completely closed. not exactly the solution for a luxury or a fashion experience in store. I started my experience, as I said, in 2014, being a director and a producer for around 20 years in the video and in general multimedia industry, mostly in B2B and B2C. And I have to say that I met Lorenzo Montagna when he was the CEO in Yahoo, producing together a lot of stuff. When I started this activity, I said that there was no standard. So I decided to go and to choose my own way to produce technically and from a creative and artistic point of view. And we are talking about point of view, means that what I do, developing every day the technology and the technique, is to produce the POV perspective in VR. It's a custom solution. I'm not the only one doing this, but I can say that I do it in a unique way. And one of the evidence is that I never show online, on Facebook, Instagram, and similars, the solution that we adopted, one in the main solution that we adopted. Instead, I can see all the other solutions worldwide. And my obsession, being a director and starting as an editor, was to be able to produce a high quality, means 8K minimum, stereoscopic on all around the subject, in motion experience, being able to create interaction. Is not interactive, but we produce a lot of interaction, free interaction, frontally and all around the subject. Being able to drive a car, to drive a bicycle, to ride a horse, or of course, to walk with a model all around the globe. We have been shooting in New York, LA, Tokyo, Shanghai, wherever. So giving to the creativity the freedom to express. And going back to this headset and to the weight and to the, I think the limitation of the experience, I was obsessed by the timing. Means that I think that it's better to go short in a single experience, less than 5 minutes, perhaps 10 when it's really, really relevant. And I'm obsessed by the length of every single scene in an experience. Means that usually I cut a single take at 8 seconds. Means that you have just the time to look around to understand who is interacting with you, typically a model, a female, a male, or an artist, or whatever. They just grab your hand, or they just interact with you, or you have a bag of shoes or whatever in your hands, or you play football, and then cut, you are in the next scene. Usually I cut on symmetry, on motion, on analogy. Means that, for example, you have an object in your both hands, and this object became something else in another place. Or as I say, the model grab your hand and you are walking in another. For example, I don't know, if you try online on Oculus Store Prada VR, you can try New York epicenter, or LA epicenter, or Tokyo epicenter, and you can understand that the beginning is always a model coming close to you, say, welcome, come with me to visit my city. They grab your hand and then cut. You are working with them, for example, on the Brooklyn Bridge or somewhere else. So this is the approach in order to go short, in order to be relevant in terms of emotion. Of course, I don't know, for example, 1 year ago, I shoot an experience for emergency in Italy and in Uganda, in which we explained how they built an hospital in Uganda. So, of course, we have been there 5 days shooting all the activities, the production, and meeting the guys on the field. But the experience started in Milano, meeting Gino Strada, already lost, I'm sorry, and Renzo Piano. And the meeting with Renzo Piano, 90 years old, was incredible. He just tried to experience one of our main experience, and he understood immediately everything, and he created a strong emotional feeling of being with him. I say 20 centimeters to your eyes. You move your eyes from one lens to the other, and he explained you how he developed the idea of this hospital. And then after 20 seconds, you are in his hands while he's painting with his typical green pen, a draft of the hospital. And then you go there, okay? So this is the general approach. So we create a strong emotional meeting with someone. an artist, a model, whoever. We use, of course, the teleport general ability of VR, so to bring you worldwide. Typically now in Italy, okay? Now you cannot come to Italy, so we produce a lot of experience in Italy. And we produce a lot of technical interactions, okay? It's not your body, of course, it's clear. But I don't know why. I am a psychologist from my degree. I don't know if it's the mirror neurons or whatever, but practically it's what a lot of brands are looking for. Consider that I produced around 400 VR projects in 8 years with a small team, like 9 people full-time employed. And an important part of them are in VR, and it's absolutely growing right now. So we started with Prada in 2017. I produced the last week, I think, the 39 experience for them. We produced also like 3 epicenter, 2 foundations, Milan and Venice, and also Shanghai, a beautiful headquarter in an ancient England villa. And for example, of course, we produce all the show with the custom technique also there, shorter usually. And Luna Rossa. Luna Rossa, you can try the experience online, as I said, on Oculus, on YouTube, VR, on VR, on many other platforms in China. In particular, Luna Rossa, it's a case history really interesting, means that I personally spent 3 days, not all the day, just 45 minutes on the boat. So sailing with all the team, flying with this incredible boat, dressed awesome. With all the Luna Rossa suite, the helmets, the oxygen and whatever, and carrying all our crazy equipment, okay? When they see me, they think that I'm a Martian, or the guys that work with me. And we ended with an experience of around 4 minutes, being at the beginning in Cagliari and enjoying the sea and the storytelling. So you are the craftsman working on many parts of the boat. And then you meet Max Sirena, the skipper, and then you are on the boat in many different situations. And of course, sometimes you are also in the objective perspective, not just subjective. So you are under the boat, over the boat, and whatever. This experience was distributed not only, and is distributed not only in store with Prada, but also by Luxottica in all the stores in New Zealand, Australia during the Prada Cup, and now worldwide, by L'Oreal. You know that there is this beautiful advertising of Luna Rossa parfum. So they selected this content in order to distribute this experience in store with different cut, with different music and whatever. But the experience is just this one. Not only, we started to produce also with Armani and many other brands. In the past, we produced also 2 worldwide campaigns with Tod's. So the shoes at the beginning was not so simple to approach this kind of, okay? So in between you, I'm sure that there are a lot of producers in VR, and to talk about shoes from a POV perspective is not so simple, okay? Because the object is really far, but I think that we were able to manage this properly and to create a strong emotion. I remember that the reaction from the head of Tod's was amazing. And this is the only reason why we work, okay? We send the headset everywhere, every time to everyone. There is no other reason to use VR if you don't try something and you say, okay, this is something that I want. And so that's all. Now, fashion is one of our main 50%, I would say, market. Not only it's an advantage from my side to continue to work in many other fields like surgery. So being a doctor doing surgery in a live body, always in 360 stereo and whatever, or being driving a car during a race or whatever. It's really useful from a practice, okay? Means that then when I shoot an experience for Prada, being an artisan doing shoes, Prada shoes, okay? And during this experience, after a while, you are driving a beautiful Fiat 1400 from the 50s around Montegranaro, and it's something that I can manage just in 1 hour and a half timing. So the time is really important in terms of the length of the single experience, the length of the single scene, the length during the distribution, okay? If you distribute, I don't know, 30 minutes of experience in store, it's something that it's absolutely not fitting with anything. And the timing in terms of production, one of the brands that you are talking about, I was able to produce it just in 1 day and to deliver in 4 days worldwide. This is something absolutely meaningful when you talk about fashion. You cannot manage project in which you need 1 month, 2 months to develop a project, because the product is sold, simply, okay? Nothing else. It's to be instant, it's to be immediate. And even the project, the timing in terms of creatively develop the subject, okay? I know it's something simple, it's just POV, but it's complex, enough complex. I make it easy, and it's easy to think about, to prepare a project, to develop from a creative point of view a project, okay? And I think that I said a lot of things.
Guido, I think knowing the way you work, I think something to share with the people. By the way, it's growing the audience, so this is really good. Thank you. So if we take Prada, for example, at the very beginning, it started in the shops, as far as I remember. So there were something like 1,000 Oculus around the world, and now it's on YouTube, of course, VR, and so on. So I think this is relevant. I mean, we are out, from the trial, from the fact to be in a safe environment. So VR is becoming perhaps more and more a media, something big.
Yes. Yesterday I was at an event in Rome with the MISE, the Minister of Development and Simulus, and they were talking about experience distributed with 6 headsets. And I had a so strong headache listening to these kind of things. 1,000 of headsets in store, managed with some custom Unity app that we developed inside in this studio. 9 people, without a back end or a front end, just effective, just the best quality you can deliver without consumption of energy and Wi-Fi and whatever. You cannot manage headset in store with Wi-Fi because you consume something that must be used by commercial activities and whatever.
Yeah.
And talking about, I see Laurent saying, is it possible to produce something timeless? Yes, for example, what I produced for Prada from 2017 is already used. We just remaster every around 2 years, I think. So now, for example, on Oculus Quest, we distributed the same content we developed in 2017, but upgraded at 5,760 and whatever. So the master is ready for the next, I think, 10 years, 11K to 11K. And of course,
Guido,
it's relevant.
Sorry,
it's relevant to produce timeless experience. Means that if you try, for example, New York, LA, Tokyo, Prada, and epicenters, we had the ability to ask and the consciousness to ask to have timeless product in store. Okay, if you do this, you can use this content timeless.
Yeah. So I think on this topic, because let's say working on the consultancy part. So if you are talking about the collection, of course, this is a problem. I mean, every 6 months, you apparently throw everything away. In reality, luxury brands, 80%, 70% of the revenues are done by the old classic things. So this is, for any company, it should be Fendi, for example, to others. So the bags are always the same, the ones that are growing, generating more business value. But what I think Guido has done, which is remarkable and to share, is to take out the focus from the product and focus more on the brand story. So the point is that, for example, if you are Prada, what makes you different from, I don't know, Versace or Valentino is the fact that you invest in art, that you have 2 foundation or 3. So, and this is a cost, and no one is going from Japan perhaps to Venice to see the Fondazione Prada Venezia. So it's also the opportunity, back to Laurent's question, of what you are going to put into VR. And there are some things that are timeless. So everything you do, and also thinking about the future, I think having the opportunity to see something that was in 2015, I think would be even interesting. So even if something is dated, will be, I think, valuable in the future. Think about this. Oculus did asked in 5 locations around the world, the one was Venice, to take video 360 during COVID. I mean, that one is a documentary. You know what I mean? So the fact that you have something in VR, so with a high resolution and quality, should be even history for the brand. So on one side, of course, you can do something, you cannot do other things. But again, focusing on the asset, on the strategic assets of the company, and freezing this value, I think it's very, very smart.
I also
Katharina,
yeah, sorry.
Katharina, now it's your turn, because we took this approach of the speed of taking a film very quickly, as Guido is doing. On the other side, we know the opportunity of CGI in other, let's say, context. It's huge, because you walk in the showroom, you buy. I mean, the VR commerce is going to happen pretty soon. Tell us your story, please.
Yeah, and sure. Before I do that, just on the last conversation about creating timeless sort of experiences, what comes to mind to me is that brands shouldn't think about, a static one-off VR experience. The whole idea is that you build out an XR strategy that is ongoing. It's the same way that as a business, you build out a content marketing strategy that evolves, and that the platforms and the mediums and the formats that you consider for engaging your audience and building the brand experience is not a tactical one, but really a strategy that you build on. And I think if you have that approach, you can, you build more relevant, more timeless experiences just automatically, rather than a one-off kind of gimmicky experience, which is, I think, what VR, started as in its infancy, and when we did more POV projects. So anyway, that was my 2 cents on that last question that you guys were discussing. So it's really nice to be part of the VRARA Summit. It's my first one to be speaking at, so thank you for hosting the panel, Lorenzo, and having the discussion with Guido. I'm Katharina Pesch, and I head up an Invrsion North America. So I'm based on the East Coast. Firstly, I wanted to just talk about really the relevance of some of the work we're doing pertaining to the fashion evolution in XR. So that's around showrooms and digital twins, and share with you some trends and anecdotes that we are seeing and the conversations we're having with the industry on this side of the world. So I do have a little presentation and some media to share. So let me see if I can pull that up. Okay. You can see my tab, right? Yeah, perfect. Cool. Let's see if this. All right. So just in terms of who we are, and you just already introduced us, and if you guys don't know us, we focus really on 2 sides. One is creating hyper-realistic, immersive retail simulations for VR. And I will go more into that with regards to fashion showrooms, actually. And the other side is creating 3D real-time rendered digital twins of products. So you can see the Fendi bag here. I'll show you some examples after. And these two fit together because the products are placed often into the environments. And this becomes very relevant for the fashion and luxury industry as well, given the quality of the experience that we create at Invrsion. And so we originally started in the CPG space, for those of you who don't know us, and are still very active in the fast-moving consumer goods space and work with supermarkets and the likes of Nestle and Ferrero and Walgreens to create retail simulations for these brands to study store layouts and look at shopper behavior and do some category management. So that's kind of the history of our brand. And many of you probably know Matteo Esposito, our co-founder and CEO, who usually also participates in these summits. So just a few stats just to show you, where we're thinking. So this is taking a step back, not specifically at all about our industry, but more to the point that as brands, as fashion accessory brands, you're seeing your business is doing well. And you've seen growth in sales. Most of you have seen, or half of you have seen, growth in sales from before the last 2 years. So that's a good kind of foundation to be starting from. But what's exciting for our business is also that kind of the acceleration of digital shopping has increased fivefold, or by 5 years, or we're 5 years ahead of where we would have been 2 years ago. So those advancements really provide opportunities to consider how to enhance your brand experiences and how to create new revenue streams even. So that's what I wanted to go into a bit more. Jor is this is where the data is from, is a wholesale fashion platform where brands sell to their retailers, and it's done online. And they're seeing, according to their data and work that they've done the past few months, they are seeing that 99% of luxury brands are selling virtually. So not necessarily, maybe in addition to the physical showroom selling, but all of you are selling virtually. And that's super exciting for us to see, because there are so many opportunities to enhance that virtual selling experience. And this is from the B2B enterprise side, so the buyer-seller dynamic in the fashion industry. And that is where, over the last year, we have developed our solutions to really target this segment of the sector. And we have built kind of immersive showrooms, which you can customize as a brand to your own experience. You can fill with beautiful objects that are part of your latest collection that have been digitized into digital twins. And so here I wanted to show you a video, and it's a little bit complicated because I can't swap tabs. So I will now go into the other tab. Give me a second to play you the video. Okay. So you should see, this is our showroom. This is our showroom video, just to give you a sense of what we've been doing here. So this is an immersive showroom that is real-time rendered in 3D. So these are not, this is not shot in advance, and it's not a piece of content. We've created the content from a mood board and have conceived a showroom in the center of Milan, and then we translated that into a virtual experience, and we have populated that with objects from different brands just to showcase you what is and isn't possible. So you can navigate the showroom, you can meet the buyers and sellers within this space, and the beauty of this is that you can really nearly feel the texture here of these objects, and here you can see the dress and the stunning stitching. And you navigate through this, you see there's possibility for multimedia as well. So you're showing maybe the latest video or even the fashion show while you're in the showroom and looking at the product. So this is super exciting and very interesting. It's quite advanced from a technology perspective. And very recently, and we're testing this out with 2 clients right now in a beta format is that this is all done with this experience is created with is experience in VR. So you need a headset for that. But we have 6 months ago launched our desktop streaming version, where you can now navigate this experience actually from your computer with your mouse. And it's still real-time rendered in 3D. So that's super
Katharina,
exciting.
something to add. Sometimes, sorry, I jump in when I think there is something valuable from you and Guido to add. So also to give the sense of the realism, which is difficult by video, I think we can say Invrsion has more or less 30 people working inside this development, and you have been partnering with different hardware solution partners like HP or others to have the best even PC. So you don't just take care about how cool or how much realism do you provide, but you have a full ecosystem, which I think, back to what Thomas and other people is doing in the chat. On one side, there is the strategy that has to be, done by the company, but then also the complexity of CGI. It's something that you really worked on with big investments, because this company is a company that has also good investors, I would say, even if in Italy. And so perhaps also this idea that is something that is very robust and scalable. I think this is something to say here. I don't know if I'm interrupting you. It's going to be in the presentation.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. So we continue to test out actually all of the devices to see what we can and can't push on them, and depending on the purpose of the experience. So when we're doing consumer research or shopper research and looking at the engagement with the digital twins, then we're starting to use really advanced technologies and are kind of customizing even the headsets and the eye tracking technologies to collect data that is then analyzed by our partners. So it depends on it really depends on the experience. The other thing is, I actually saw there was someone from a sustainability museum on the in the session earlier. We've actually done a project on Oculus Quest 2, where the quality of what we can produce is not as high as the quality that we are used to. So we've actually had to reduce the quality. I mean, the usual VR, maybe user might not realize that, or the generic VR user, not the expert, might not realize that we had to reduce the quality. But on Oculus Quest, we built a fantastic world. We conceived a world of sustainability, and you can enter different ecosystem and in different spheres and experience and learn about biodiversity and things like that, and go and interact with sustainable objects in this fantastic world. And that's super exciting. So we are pushing the boundaries for seeing where and how we can apply our capabilities. And kind of, we're known for the high level quality of our output. So, one thing which I wanted to just touch on was the digital twins, and kind of an achievement we've made within the last month around the reducing the weight of the digital twins to be able to really make them more scalable on the web. So not just for VR, but to be able to create these brand experiences beyond VR and make them more mainstream for now, and sort of bridging that gap. So I'll show you guys a couple of those. So give me 1 second. In terms of digital twins, we're seeing the adoption of those digital twins across so many different areas of businesses. So in an organization, you could use these to study the product design. Obviously, I already mentioned consumer research. I mentioned the B2B sales side. And then there is the B2C side of the pipeline. So there it is from enhancing your commerce solutions. And this is super exciting for the luxury and fashion industry. as well as enabling sort of like creating XR-enabled consumer brand experience, which is something that Guido has been doing and was telling you the stories about. So let me just show you a couple of the digital twins. If you want to see them, let me share my tab again. So this is one of my favorites, is the Nike Air Jordan. So you can see here, this is a real-time rendered 3D digital twin that's actually hosted on our website using Babylon Player. And the thing with this digital twin, what is important to note and what I wanted to share with you, is we have one version that is 88 megabytes. It takes 8 seconds to load. It's fantastic. You can zoom in to see every little part of the product. But that is not really sustainable for businesses to host on their websites, at least, or on e-commerce channels. You might be able to use those for VR, and they're stunning. But thinking about scalability and bringing this to more consumers, this is using the latest 3D commerce open standard that has been agreed by Kronos Group, and that this came out in the standard was agreed maybe a month ago, and then we created this based on the new parameters using reducing the weight of the product. So this is a 5 megabyte item, and it is a GLTF file, and it can be seen across all engines, and that is something super exciting for us to be able to show, because a brand can host hundreds of these objects on their sites and not reduce the quality, but enhance the brand experience. And that's all well and good. And let me show you one other where I can dive deeper into the sorry, I'm just switching back and forth between these things. I'll come back to you. One more switch. I'll show you the Fendi handbag.
In the meanwhile, there are many questions coming out.
Okay.
Perhaps one thing to highlight, then we can answer as you finish, but it's the scalability. So, for example, Ravi is asking, how all these kind of things can then, be part of the big box retailers like Amazon and so on. But perhaps, again, the fact that it is very light, even if it is very, very, very powerful, it's the answer.
Oops, sorry. So you can see here the stitching, the fabric. So for luxury brand, this is very exciting to be able to show you consumers and study your product in this manner. So it's just the Fendi bag. I think you guys can all see that. So to the question around scalability. So I think there's a lot of points. One is that the Kronos Group, we're part of it. They have a 3D open commerce committee where we're looking at, these products. So like I mentioned, they can be used on the B2B side, but on the B2C side, thinking about 3D commerce, which is really what I wanted to mention. So enhancing your e-commerce with beautiful objects that are 3D digital twins, even rendered in real time. They're now this is possible. So scalability, for example, Shopify has, I think since last year, the ability for their merchants to upload 3D objects and using the GLTF files. And so they have specific parameters and you can upload it. That's super exciting. Then Jor, the fashion wholesale platform I mentioned, they now have the ability for brands to upload their 3D digital twins. And so this is something we are working on, as an industry to accelerate. The other thing, for example, on Friday last week, I did another webinar with Walmart, and Walmart has a head of CGI and a whole team that is thinking about how to, basically what I learned, or what I thought was really interesting, the way she positioned the conversation is, we need to think about creating this brand experience for all products, not just your most beautiful handbag that is, 10,000 euros and that you want to showcase, but why, like, this process should be democratized over time. And her example was, we should be digitizing chicken breasts as much as we should be digitizing handbags. And I know it sounds absurd, but from an e-commerce experience, when we shop online, I mean, we want to see good product images right now. It doesn't matter what we're buying, and that should be the same when we're moving into the 3D world. So I think that was really a fascinating comment. And then the other point about scalability really is, it takes a while to produce these digital twins, and especially at high quality. And so it's looking at the production pipeline of how we do that. And you can start in photogrammetry or other scanning methods, but at Invrsion, we are currently working on a semi-automatic kind of pipeline where we have a machine that is basically photo scanning the product from all sorts of sides, and then our 3D artists add to the final product. But in the middle is also a piece of AI that helps identify what product is being shot and what the archetype of the product is, which allows us to speed up the creation of these digital twins. And obviously our ambition is for this to become something that large scale brands can do in-house. They could have a machine sitting in their photo studios, and they run these products.
Yeah, especially for luxury, back to speed, which is the main keyword from Guido. Speed is everything. So let's say one of the reasons why fashion on one side has been one of the first vertical to invest, but at the same time they didn't really make it. It's because everything is very hysteric, is very immediate. It's very to be done from one day to another, and this is something you don't really change. It's part of the game. It's part of the culture of the company. And so now that all the processes of AI technology and the touch of the 3D artists are becoming much smoother and faster. Again, my experience in consultancy, if you have 5,000 SKU, you will never make it. If you take 50, you will make it. So, and start with the 50, and then year by year, you can then implement and so on. But the scalability, it's going not to be an issue, I think, in the future. One thing to add here, we spoke, we are moving from Guido, so the VR, we will be back also to some of his point. And now we moved, of course, after the showrooming to digital twins. Something to add here is that AR is going to play a big part of this revolution, again, thanks to the digital twin. So I have some data. So one of the main reasons why luxury brand has a gift, a product coming back to them after e-commerce is because of the size. So if you buy a bag, even of a super brand, it's not easy to understand how big it is. So, and again, someone in the chat was saying a brand, especially luxury brand, cannot be like Amazon. I mean, they are not selling toothpaste and they are selling a bag of 4,000 euro. I really need to understand the dimension. So the digital twins, talking about also AR and more scalability, because every one of us has a smartphone, it's a big change. So back to Gucci, this idea that you can try on the shoes at home, it's also a big advantage when you go to the shops, because you already tried many different models, but you just have to be sure about the size. Or anyway, it's also a big experience to try and to leave, let's say, some products without moving to the shop. Katharina, we don't see you. In the meanwhile, I give back to Guido.
You don't see me?
We are almost 10 minutes.
Sorry, can I just
but
can
go,
you see me?
go.
So one thing I just wanted to share is a couple of, so we talked about the digital, but just a couple of stats around that we have seen in the industry relevant, in fact, around 3D commerce, right? So kind of advancing that shopper experience. So we did a study with the University of Bologna just 3 months ago, looking at 3D versus 2D and seeing if there's
Katharina, are you showing your desktop or not?
We can see.
You know why? Because we don't see you as an image, so I'm not sure we can see your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Perfect.
Okay. But you can hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So I just mentioned, so there's we've seen in our study, and this was just a small study with 800 people, and it was about white goods, so not fashion goods. A 17% higher probability to purchase product in a 3D environment versus 2D, and a huge increase in the change of attitude towards the retailer of 115% based on 3D versus the 2D experience. There are lots of other really interesting stats in the industry. So one is that people spend 10 times more time engaging on your site if it's 3D enabled. And that's from Sketchfab, which you probably all know of, and Kronos, which is the big member body in the industry, is claiming rates like reducing returns of by 35%, which is huge, driving engagement by more than 66%. And then this number, which is the magic bullet, is the driving or increasing conversions by 40%. And that is something that's interesting when you're looking. There's a study, for example, that Shopify did with Harvard Business Review around AR. And they're seeing conversions supposedly of over 95%. I've read about conversions increasing by 250%. So there is a huge variable kind of message that is going around. But I think it really depends on also the product that you are trying to sell. And it's actually something where we're doing an A/B test on for Invrsion that we're planning with a brand in the US. If there's any brand that wants to also do this with us, let me know. But we want to study the sort of A/B testing of 2D versus 3D on the conversion rates rather than on engagement, where just to see what kind of data we receive. So I think these are interesting points to consider. That's kind of it. I can talk about VR commerce in a second, but I really wanted to show that data for you as well.
Yeah. Guido, back to you. Is there something after this exchange of ideas that you want to add from your side? So from the part, let's say, of film, of production, because we moved a lot into the CGI with all the advantages that Katharina highlighted. And I don't want to say, because sometimes when there is no strategy, brands ask, what is better? I mean, they are completely different stories, no? Yeah. So back to you, from your side, something to add?
Yes, there could be, of course, an interaction in between these languages. For example, we developed a game, a VR game, it's called Prada Journey for Prada, that you can play on Oculus Quest 2, but always only in store. If you want to try, you have to go in store. Going back to this idea of real versus CGI, there is not a versus, okay? For example, we produced a couple of experience for Automobili Pininfarina. Talking about luxury, in that case, we produced the content about a product that cost 2.5 million, okay? There is absolutely no need to buy a car that can run from 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds. Okay, you cannot use anywhere. In that case, all the project was developed in CGI, so you already have everything. Okay, of course under secret, and they invited us to produce an immersive experience, always with this technique, in San Francisco during the Concours d'Elegance at the first presentation of this incredible car. So the idea in that case was that if you want to sell something unique in a private conversation, and you cannot bring every time this secret car worldwide, and you have to give the feeling of a team, of a unique team, the head of design arrived directly from Ferrari and something else, you need to give the feeling of the reality, okay? So they had already everything in CGI, a lot of renders and whatever, but they wanted to say it's real. We have got it. We have done it, even if it's just one prototype working, okay? That's why we went there to shoot and already in Italy. And they used it during the Geneva Automotive Salon that is really demanding in terms of quality and technology and whatever. So coming from this experience, just to say that could be there could be a dialogue in between this technology, working with these technologies in fashion, in this industry. I have to say that it's mandatory not just to do experiment. Okay, so I use an experimental technique, but it's not an experiment. I tested it before start to produce any commercial project for around 2 years, and I every day experiment new technologies. So I saw some discussion online about avatars, about whatever, okay? We already did the POC for the World Food Program about avatarization and training, being avatars all together, but it's a POC, it's a proof of concept. It's not an activity, a training activity, for example, okay? We already do in the studio some volumetric capture, but I would never present this solution for a real event. I know that the day after I cannot work again in Milan. You cannot fail in this business, okay? It's easier to fail in USA or in some other countries from a company point of view. In Italy, if you fail, you are out of the business. You have to spend the rest of your life paying taxes and problems.
Let's say that the motto "fail fast" in Italy, it's not really the case.
You can't, absolutely, you can't. So we test a lot, but we never test with customers. We never test. I have a very safe approach in terms of everything, from the distribution to the managing of the hardware and whatever. This is my last suggestion.
So we are pretty close to end. I don't know, Katharina, if you want to add something more. I must say I moderated 3 panels. This one, even if it is Friday afternoon, as you can see in Italy with the sunny weather, there is a bunch of people, and especially what is good, there is a lot of interaction. So for sure we cannot answer to everything, but a good thing of this organization is that we are by default on LinkedIn, so any more question that takes also the time to be answered properly, we can do it later on.
Perfect. And I just posted my email in the chat. So if you guys or anyone wants to ask more specific questions on some of the conversation we had, you can just email me. And I tried to answer a few questions that I saw in the chat, but I know I have to jump in a minute, but I really enjoyed the conversation, and I love the interaction of our audience. So we should do this again. We can have part 2 at the next summit.
We thought to be not lucky to be at the very end, and it's the opposite. So to summarize, I would say that today we had a conversation with 2 different approach. One is 360 film, but the difference it's in person. So something that you cannot really understand unless you have the headset on. So again, the speed of the experience, the proximity. So in a period where people is usually with a mask at 2 meters, I can tell you that seeing models at 20 centimeters for you, it's not only very nice, but it's kind of experience. So on one side, the reality, it's a very good thing. And being able to work properly with the 360 is very, very valuable. The good question was what happens in terms of scalability, how much time this will last. The advantage is that usually costs are under control, time is very fast. On the other side, computer graphics is, of course, the future of e-commerce. People cannot buy, and it's unbelievable that luxury brands during the pandemic had very bad mobile shopping. I mean, that's the reality. So we are talking about CGI and weight of 3D objects whenever lots of luxury brands had very bad mobile, and indeed the one that lost some market share was because they were not able to manage mobile. So mobile, it's AR, it's digital twin, and digital twin, especially I would say for B2B, it's mandatory. I mean, people, I don't think is going to travel again and again like it was in the past. This idea of the new normal, perhaps is going to happen, perhaps is not, but you must have an option. You must have the option to go to Milano and to visit whatever you want during the fashion week, but the brand should be also brave enough to provide you the opportunity to be there virtually. Whenever it's video, whenever it's CGI, whenever it's a blend, because I always believe that 1 + 1, it makes 3. And so back to what we said before, it's also a question of strategy to understand how to mix perhaps the two languages. We are running late. I know you guys have to also to leave. Please stay in touch with us by LinkedIn, and thank you to be with us. Grazie.
Grazie.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Bye.
good day. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.